Well, what do I have to say? What do you have to say about that Lazarus-like recovery? Lazarus-like recovery on the 4th of September 2023, on the day of the Shadow Cabinet reshuffle, despite multiple mainstream news outlets reporting of his imminent sacking, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon wrote a letter to his leader Keir Starmer claiming illness as a reason for stepping down and resigning. What sort of man can't even face up to the consequences of his own failures like that? Less than 3 months later, a Lazarus-like recovery takes place, and McMahon is now back in the shadow cabinet, and to the Muslim bloc vote that he relies on, the reason why he's back in the shadow cabinet has not gone unnoticed. And if it has, don't worry, we will be doing something about that.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
A very, very good evening, Sunday the 3rd of December 2023. This is a Recusant 9 transmission. My name is Raja Miah. We've been at this for it's way past 5 years since we started, but I think the transmissions in some guys or another, we're into our 3rd year. And we are currently subscriber only for a number of reasons. One is I'm just not feeling comfortable at the moment, if I'm honest with you, which is one of the main reasons, and the other reason is because our subscriber numbers, paid subscriber numbers, have fallen significantly. So it's not possible for me just to put all the content out for free at the moment. So thank you to those of you who've joined us. The headline news has got to be Jim McMahon's return to the shadow cabinet, and let me bring up the evidence as we should see it. Here is his letter on the 4th of September to Keir Starmer. As the reshuffle begins this week, I wanted to take the opportunity to step down from the shadow cabinet. Very difficult decision for me, but as we have discussed previously, I faced a number of personal challenges in last year coming back from a serious illness. The road to recovery has been testing, and although I am better than I was, there is still some way to go. Well, there wasn't that long of a way to go, because within 3 months, he's back in the shadow cabinet in a junior role, a bag carrier for Angela Rayner is the job he's got, but that's by the by. He's back in the shadow cabinet. For the benefit of both my health and my family, this is the right time. This is right to step back from the workload that comes with the shadow cabinet. So now within 3 months, he's got the workload again. But more importantly, for you, separate to his health, is his claim that he stepped down, and it's here in black and white in his own letter. He stepped down so he could contribute fully to the general election campaign coming towards us and serve my constituents in Oldham, West and Royton. So he claimed on the 4th of September he was stepping down for 3 reasons. One was the general election campaign, as in fighting me. One was his illness, such a severe illness, the main reason why he stepped down. And the third reason was apparently he wanted to serve his constituents better. Well, clearly he couldn't be bothered with serving his constituents better, because he's gone running back to the shadow cabinet. And this was Keir Starmer's response. Of course, I am also aware about the ongoing health issues that you have faced. I know that you will continue to diligently serve our party and your constituents from the back bench. Here he is. Last week, I have accepted a new role as Shadow Minister for English Devolution and Local Government. He posted it on his Facebook page. As I return to the front benches as Shadow Minister for English Devolution and Local Government, I look forward to working with Angela Rayner. Now remember, this is Angela Rayner who he blamed for a disastrous by-election result where he basically claimed she was dressed like she was dressed inappropriately. That's what McMahon claimed. Instead of accepting responsibility himself because he was in charge of the campaign, he was sacked afterwards, by the way, removed. He never led another campaign in terms of elections for the Labour Party. He's now back. Bag carrying for Angela Rayner in under 3 months. And he's delighted to further champion the work of councillors and mayors. That is a very interesting position to hold, because unknown to most of you is that when Jim McMahon was first elected, MP, his immediate speech was to criticise devolution and criticise Metro mayors. I'm not joking. His first, go and look it up, one of his first political speech as an MP was to criticise it. And now he's somehow delighted to further champion the work of councillors and mayors. Well, if you're further championing the work, where did you initially champion the work? And this is the funny bit. And to fight for the financial sustainability of local government. Anyone who's familiar with his tenure as leader of Oldham Council would know all about his contribution to financial stability and sustainability of this town. He blew tens of millions of pounds, won one lunatic scheme after another. Hotel Future, remember that? Game changer after game changer. He is an absolute, and Marlene, you've took the words right out of my mouth. He is a complete buffoon. So he's gone running back. He's gone running back to the shadow cabinet, and the reason why there's an opportunity in the shadow cabinet, to my Muslim friends who watch, in particular, but not exclusive, was that because Keir Starmer sacked, or the woman resigned, who was the minister who held part of this portfolio before. And she resigned or was sacked over voting for a ceasefire. And whatever your political positions or my political positions, what is very clear is that the block vote on who McMahon relies on to get elected, the block vote from Oldham's Pakistani and Bangladeshi Muslim community, are not happy with him at all. And they will be even less happy once the leaflets go out. Oh yes, once the leaflets go out, sharing with residents, voters, of how McMahon secured this promotion. He secured this promotion by, what's the phrase about jumping in a grave now? It's very, very clear to me that this man will do anything it takes to promote himself and his career. He has got no interest in the white working class any more than he has any interest in the Muslim constituents that he allegedly fails to, by the way, represent. So, that is McMahon. Run back to London, and his 2 or 3 little ventures of something resembling campaigning in Oldham was attending a meeting to do with 5G mass, which he's known about for a long time, did nothing, and writing to the government to do with speeding cars. Well, mate, there's enough of us who can write to the government. Go to a council meeting every month or every 6 weeks or however long they are, and you'll see that they send letter after letter after letter. We don't need an MP such as yourself. You know what I'll do? I'll write to the government. An absolute clown. Now, what's gone on is as a consequence of his abstaining, and this isn't my leaflet, I don't speak Urdu, and my Bangla isn't the best to write, by the way, so that's the language, as you can see. These leaflets, these are the sorts of leaflets that are going out, one attacking Debbie Abrahams and the other attacking Jim McMahon, and universally focusing on the Labour Party. Since last week's transmission, of which all hell has broken loose, all hell has broken loose in Oldham Labour. And I want to focus on that first. When I shared the transmission last week, I talked about Cameron Gaffer standing in Oldham West. My apologies. One of Cameron Gaffer's team has contacted me. Cameron Gaffer's intention, that's the currently suspended Conservative Deputy Leader of Oldham Council, Cameron Gaffer's intention is not to stand in Oldham West and Royton against me. Cameron Gaffer's intention is to stand in Oldham East and Saddleworth against Debbie Abrahams. Cameron Gaffer would very much like to be the MP for Oldham East and Saddleworth, and he will, of course, as a consequence of his stance, principled, whether I agree with it or not, principled, he will get the overwhelming Muslim vote in St Mary's Ward, in Alexander Ward, and in Waterhead. Now, these are the three wards without the Muslim support, Debbie Abrahams would never have been elected. The Cameron Gaffer, if he stands, will immediately have 10,000 votes. Now, how does he win? He can only win if he stands as a Conservative candidate in Oldham East and Saddleworth. That's what my sources are telling me. He wants to stand as the Conservative candidate. So I hope for the benefit of our town, I hope the investigation into Cameron Gaffer is swift. And if he's found to have done something wrong, then great, punish him. And if he hasn't, then reinstate him. Because honestly, I'm being deadly serious with you, honestly, I would rather every one of us vote for Cameron Gaffer than support Debbie Abrahams. Our policy, our position from the outset has been the same. First base is remove the Labour Party candidates, remove the Labour Party councillors, remove the Labour Party politicians. First base, Julie, is exactly that. Get them out. So I'm happy to support and endorse Cameron Gaffer if he is cleared and if he can secure the Conservative nomination. Now, I believe it's in the Conservative Party's interests to have a candidate there that can win. And the only way he'll win, and the Conservatives are going to take a hiding across the country. So they won't get the levels of support they got at the last general election. The only way they can win is with a candidate that can secure, maintain an element of the core Conservative vote, 7,000, 8,000, and then also have the Muslims switch sides, another 8,000 to 10,000, and then Debbie Abrahams will be out. She will lose. At the same time, as a consequence of, particularly, I think they've both failed the Muslim constituents, not just the Muslim constituents, but in particular the Muslim constituents who have been very, very vocal on the war. It doesn't matter. I have heated disagreements all the time with many of my Muslim friends, but I put myself forward and I have those exchanges with them. Debbie Abrahams attempted to deceive and mislead by recording a video that she didn't even put up on her own Twitter page or social media pages. Jim McMahon is refusing to meet with his Muslim constituents. These are people that voted for them. These are people without whose support they would not be in the positions that they find themselves in. These people have a right to be angry. And I'm pleased that they are angry. And I'm pleased that they are mobilising in the way they are mobilising. And I look forward to Debbie Abrahams being ousted because, in the end, I don't think she's a good MP. I don't think she's a good MP, Denise. I think she's paid very little attention on her own constituents in the big issues here. As for McMahon, I think he's the worst of MPs. Self-serving, and the pieces of silver references. You know, he'll sell out. He's sold out the white working class and he's sold out the Muslims. And now he's hoping to get over the line by hiding behind the Labour Party machinery and Starmer's machinery as a general election comes through, where people by default will vote for Labour because of all the anti-conservative, and you know they're on a roll, aren't they? And that's what he's hoping. He's hoping by removing himself he can hide and get elected by default. And it's not appropriate for him, Jack. And I wanted to pick up on this. Posing in a school uniform shop after what he did. And let's be clear on what he did. He had a role in the cover-up. He had a prominent role, in my opinion, in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children. Now, if you look at what McMahon is doing and what Oldham Council is doing at this moment in time, they're trying to whitewash their reputation by promoting local businesses. It's a strategy. It's a strategy they're doing on purpose. If they came to me or anyone I knew who had a business and the council wanted to promote them on the webpage, I wouldn't let them. I'd tell them to get lost. It'd be no different from my point of view. Oldham Council promoting you would be no different than some Hamas supporter or some EDL supporter promoting you, because Oldham Council is tarnished. It is corrupt, it is infested with criminals, and it needs to be taken over by the government. So, no, you can jump the gun all you want. I wasn't going to get to that, but I saw your post come up, and that's why I responded to it. It's completely inappropriate, but they're playing you all. They're doing it on purpose to try and whitewash their reputations, because anything they put up, they will get attacked, and as they have been attacked, so now what they're trying to do is hide behind decent businesses. What next? They'll be hiding behind children. They'll be hiding behind babies, I would imagine. They'll be hiding behind the elderly. These people don't care about any of these groups. These people just care about themselves. Which brings me to what is taking place politically. And let's have this conversation now. 12 Labour seats. Jenny Harrison is actually not standing. Jenny Harrison in Alexandra, and the reason I'm writing this is you'll come clear. It's someone called Gaza who's standing, who stood before somewhere and got her ass kicked. So Jenny Harrison is resigning, and this Gaza lady is standing for the Labour Party in Alexandra. Traditionally a Labour Party safe seat. It's going. I'm telling you now. A Pakistani independent has announced their candidacy from a very powerful family and outraged at what Labour Party have done, and they will take out the Labour Party in Alexandra. In Waterhead, I can't work out what's going to happen here. I think the candidate there will either stand as a Conservative or he'll stand as an independent, again, of Pakistani heritage. Or a Conservative. And they will take out Ross Birch. And I'm going to be helping both of these, even though I'm not standing in this constituency in Oldham East. It's my town. We've been campaigning from the outset, and I'm so much going to enjoy taking out Ross Birch. Ross Birch, we're going to take you out. We're going to take you out. So in Alexandra, Labour will lose the seat. In Waterhead, Labour will lose the seat. In Chadderton Central is Elaine Taylor. There's a Bangladeshi Conservative who we think is going to win. And he will take out Elaine Taylor. Medlock Vale, in St Mary's, Arud Shah's own backyard, Akhil Salamat is up. There's a Pakistani independent running against him. The odds are he'll win. He'll take out Akhil Salamat. And what you've also got is in Medlock Vale. The local community are actively looking for an independent candidate. And they'll take out the councillor there. Councillor Umar Nashim. And of course, you've also got, in Coldust, you've got the Conservative Montaz against Ruji. What you're seeing is basically a civil war. A civil war of the block vote, and the block vote is not going to vote Labour. Now, the Conservatives have a job on their hands to try and convince the block vote to vote for them, but that's what's taking place. And furthermore, in places like Waterhead and Chadderton Central, Ross Birch and Elaine Taylor are struggling getting their Muslim members out to go and knock on doors and campaign on their behalf. They can't even get people out to go and knock on doors and campaign on their behalf. So what you've got here is 6 potential seats. And remember, Labour on 32. There's a chance here that they could lose 6 of their councillors. 6 of their councillors as a consequence of this issue. Now, if we move from this issue, and let me try and get to the other places. Where else are they at risk? Well, they're at risk in St James. Well, it's Josh Charters. And the Conservative candidate there is it's McManus. Remember Councillor McManus? I think that's the Conservative candidate in St James. His message will resonate. It will resonate. Holly Harrison in Chadderton South. They rely on a significant 25% of their vote is Muslim. They won't vote for them. They'll either stay at home or they'll vote Conservative. The Conservative candidate there, I forget his name, it'll come to me. He stood last time. It's a local lad, a caretaker. Stood in Chadderton North last time. I'm sure Ian will remind me what his name is. I should know it, sorry, I've just slipped my mind. But with a proper campaign, she is at the risk of losing. Chadderton North. It's actually a Bangladeshi Conservative candidate. For some reason, I thought a white candidate would have resonated with the voters more, but the Conservatives have picked a Bangladeshi one, so it's fine. And it's against Eddie Moores. A well-run campaign focusing on CSE and the disproportionate amount of money, and they'll go as well. That's 9. Naila Ibrahim is the only one that's safe on this list, and she's safe because she spoke out. She issued a statement condemning her own party leader. But Arud Shah doesn't have the nerve to suspend her. Because if you suspend Naila Ibrahim, all hell will break loose. That leaves 2 more candidates. One's in Failsworth West. That's Paul Fryer. And one's in Royton South. And that's, of course, Barrelgate. Ashworth. Now, their opposition, I'm not keen on them. But they are there, is the independent group. So I'm not going to get involved. If they can take them out, let's see them take them out. But what we've actually got is the potential, and I'm not joking here, we have the potential in Oldham in May as a consequence of the combination of Labour Party's failure to deal with the CSE in this town, the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children, and the MP's betrayal of their Muslim constituents' views and opinions, in particular on supporting a ceasefire or playing games with them. You've got the potential of 11 Labour Party councillors or council positions losing in May's local elections. And that can only happen if it's coordinated. It can only happen if it's coordinated. But there is a good chance of 11 seats going for May. There'll be some horse trading in the other 8 seats. The Lib Dems will probably take Max Woodvine out in Saddleworth. Markins may or may not take out the Lib Dems in one of the Gloucesters in Shaw. And depending on how they go about it, Labour might take a seat off the Failsworth Independents if they don't get behind their candidate there. I'm on about Brian Hobin's seat. Lucia Ray, she's the fit candidate who's up. In Failsworth West, Susan, Paul Fryer is up. And if I'm honest with you, I don't know. I don't know if... I've seen nothing yet from any of the independents or the Failsworth independents in terms of campaigning in Failsworth West. But I'm not going to get involved because I don't want to be blamed if it goes wrong, which is the same as in Royton South and Shaw and Crompton. I don't want to be blamed, so I'm not going to get involved. Big team know what they're doing. Go ahead and do it. I have my own views and opinions on what needs to happen, but I'm not for sharing them. Let's see what they come up with. Let's see what these people come up with. Carl Bardsley. Thank you, Denise. Carl Bardsley standing in Chadderton South. Now, if we want these 11 seats to be taken out, and at the same time, if we want to support, in Royton North in particular, if we want to support Lewis Quigg, who's up, and make sure he retains his seat, then we will need to run the campaign. It's as simple as that. We will need to run the campaign. Some of them call it negative campaigning. I don't care. I know full well telling the truth gets people angry, and if it's angry enough to stir you into getting off your ass and voting, or voting differently, or refusing to vote for someone you did before, I'm comfortable with that. It's that form of campaigning that has got us to where we've got to, despite the national trend. Now, I personally gain nothing from many of these wards in terms of my MP aspirations, because these wards aren't in my constituency. But this is my town, and I'm happy to help, and I'm willing, not happy, willing to lead. But that's entirely up to all of you. It's dark, it's December, we're tired. We've been betrayed, we've been stabbed in the back. We've lost support, we've lost momentum, I sense it. I'm tired. I've lost my mother 2 weeks ago. But we're too far in. And if we're too far in, what do? Surely we see it through. Surely we take a deep breath and we recognize and we realize and we accept this isn't about us. This isn't about me. This isn't about you. This is about the service we provide to this town. Surely that's what it's about. Or have I got it wrong? If I have a criticism for some of the candidates and some of the councillors who have fallen out with, it's because they've forgotten why they're there. They are there to represent the people who put them there, not to promote themselves. Which is why I go back to Jim McMahon and the pieces of silver. So I sense we're tired. I genuinely do sense that. I'm tired. And I don't want you to vote Maggie. Julie, I don't want you to vote Maggie. It's for Maggie. Because she's the person who's the leader. It's for Mark Ince. It's for Brian Hoban. It's for Hindle. These people are our leaders. It's for them to reflect on their actions and reach out to people. Whatever has been done to any of you by any of these people, you can multiply it by 10 as to what they've done to me. I personally think, Julie, that in Royton South, a Conservative candidate will stand. They'll have to put a Conservative up. Because of the way John Hughes, Maggie Hurley have behaved. Remember, they voted against the Conservatives at the last council meeting. Against the 3 Royton Conservatives who supported them. They voted against them. And they even voted against their own motion. Which just shows how, well, let's be polite, how inexperienced they are. Despite their big team and this political strategist in John Hughes, it just shows how inexperienced they are. I believe the Conservatives, as a consequence of what they've seen, will be compelled to put up a candidate in Royton South, particularly with the general election coming. And fine, Susan, don't vote anymore for FIP. But what would you say if Lucia was took out, if you're in the East? If Lucia was took out and replaced with a Labour Party councillor? Is it Paul Fryer's wife, I think, is standing there? It's not that Maggie's out of her depth. Maggie Hurley is one of those individuals who I've reflected on and gone back and looked at all the stuff in the public domain. She's craved a political position. Remember, this is a woman who went and suddenly decided to campaign for the Coliseum Theatre. And I have no doubt she meant her campaigning for the Coliseum Theatre. She went to all the meetings. And then what happened? She's now elected and in a position to say something and do something. She said nothing and done even less. Now, they're clearly inexperienced. But worse than inexperienced. I can deal with inexperience. What they are, unfortunately, is it's their arrogance. Their arrogance. So let's see what happens. You need to stop thinking about who you can vote for and who you can't vote for. What you need to wait and sit back and wait for is for our elected representatives to reach out and give you a reason to vote for them. You might still think it's not enough, but they need to own their failings. They need to stand up and own their failings and make amends if at all possible. Because if they don't, we've got a team of independents in there who are what? They're not ineffective. They're dangerous. As the people of Failsworth West found out. When they bicker amongst themselves, the majority of voters look at it and think, what's the point? I'll go back to voting Labour. It's in their interests. It's in their interests to demonstrate leadership. And a feature of demonstrating leadership has always been taking responsibility for failings, mistakes. Now, I think it might save the Fails of Independent Party potentially. I can't see it saving the Royton Independents, I'm afraid. And the reason why is because I think that the Conservatives will put a candidate in Royton South. And if you look at Maggie's share of the vote, 90% of her voters at least were those who voted for Gary Tarbuck, and he stood in Royton South as a Conservative. And I know this because we got the marked register when we went and campaigned. But put all of that aside. Put all of that aside. As a consequence of the combination of Labour Party's betrayal of the white working class and abandonment of the Muslim core vote, at the next local election, where they are fielding 12 existing councillors, or council seats, defending 12 council seats, they are at risk of losing 11 of them. And we can leave the mess that's Mark Hints, Brian Hoban, Tig, whatever, leave all of that to solve itself if they have the ability to demonstrate leadership. But we don't have to worry about that. We need to focus on where we can make a difference. And I've gone through the areas where we can make a difference. This is the stupidity we need to get away from, because there are some individuals that can't and shouldn't be anywhere near. I'm playing catch up. You can see the arrow, the red arrow there. This is Remembrance Sunday in Royton. At the front marched the politicians. Now, I can't stand the guy, and he's gone there for votes, but Jim McMahon has every right to be there because that is where the pecking order is, and behind him are the local councillors. Lewis Quigg and Dave Arnott march with the British Legion, of whom they are members. You can see Bashforth there. Look at that red arrow. That's John Hughes. What on earth is John Hughes doing marching on Remembrance Sunday as though he's some sort of elected official? Ahead of the veterans, ahead of the very soldiers that served. No tie, scruffy git. What on earth is he doing marching there? My understanding is, as a consequence of that, a meeting has been called by the British Legion to make sure something like this does not happen again. Maggie Hurley, who is the actual councillor, should be apologising on behalf of the Royton Independents for her advisor marching ahead of the servicemen. But she hasn't. She's not said a word. In fact, she was marching alongside them and then fell back because 80-year-old veterans were overtaking her. She couldn't keep up. And was that something to chuckle at? And I do chuckle at it. What I find reprehensible is this man marching as though he's an elected official ahead of the very servicemen that risked their lives. I mean, if that wasn't enough, he's dressed like a scruff. He's not even got the decency to wear a tie. Outrageous behaviour. The next one I want to get onto is, there's been something this week about Lancashire Day. You've all seen it. There's something this week about Lancashire Day. And what we had was the council refused to fly the flag for Lancashire Day. In fact, let me first find the article. Just give me a second. Here's the Oldham Times article. Lancashire Day surprise after council does not fly flag. And then there's Louis Hamblett, who's up for re-election, so that's why they're promoting him, the Oldham Times. The Oldham Times promote the Labour Party and the Lib Dems and protect them. Remember, the Oldham Times were complicit in failing to initially, until I'd exposed it, report on the conviction of Rod Blythe for child sex exploitation offences. What you've got here is an Oldham Council spokesperson saying, as previously stated, due to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, our usual flag flying policy has been suspended, and we shall be flying the peace flag until further notice to signify peace, justice and respect. I'll tell you what I think happened. What I think happened was there was Transgender Day of Remembrance on the 20th of November, and Oldham Council did not fly the flag. And they did not fly the flag because Arud Shah's in charge. Remember how, these people have an issue with gay people. Forget the transgender element of women having penises and all the rest of that, and biological males breastfeeding or having babies. That's the Labour Party position. They want to teach all of that, and they want to even support our children to have sex changes, from what I can work out of their policy. The council didn't fly the transgender flag of remembrance, which it did fly the year before, when Amanda Chadderton, the first openly gay council leader in the town, according to her, she's the one who, promoted herself as the first gay council leader. The first woman, first Muslim, first whatever, just like the first competent council leader. Personally, I couldn't care less how you identify. But because they didn't fly this flag, the council got themselves in a mess, which is why they haven't flown the Lancashire flag, which they should have. And this article, and the reaction from the council, if I was a betting man, I would wager that a Freedom of Information request will confirm that no such council decision was taken. There'll be no paper trail that can confirm the suspension of the usual flag flying policy. There'll be no documents, or it'll be backdated. It won't make sense. It won't fit neatly in. And that's because they refused to fly it for National Transgender Day of Remembrance. And we know the Labour Party position. Arud Shah, she never turned up for any of the Pride events. And Councillor Shahid Mushtaq stood up and claimed, asking if our leaders would attend Pride was racist. I think that's exactly what it is. They're taking us for mugs. And taking us for mugs, I want to move on to the next point I want to talk about, is the Oldham Coliseum campaign to save theatre continues. The people behind this campaign are taking us for mugs. Now, I think it was about 6 or 7 weeks ago, I shared with you a series of exchanges I had with Jane Barker, who's involved in this. My issue remains the same. If there is a campaign to save the theatre, if there is a campaign to save the Coliseum Theatre, my position is very straightforward. Why is the theatre committee, management committee, the theatre board, the board of trustees, why aren't the board of trustees leading that campaign? Why haven't a single one of the board of trustees come out and publicly said, we want to remain in that building? Why haven't a single one of the board of trustees come out and clarified how they were appointed and who appointed them onto the board of trustees? Members of the public who are interested in saving Oldham Coliseum are being played. They're being played by these people. Now I've seen the plans the same as many of you have. We know the theatre space is earmarked for redevelopment. So why are they leading people to fight for something that they won't fight for themselves? We know that the new space was already agreed before the theatre closure was announced. And the Arts Council had made its decision, by the way, for a board that was, not fit for purpose. It couldn't handle money. It was not fit for purpose. Sam Al-Hamdani was one of the trustees. All smoke and mirrors. All smoke and mirrors. Why have we not got the trustees of the theatre board leading that campaign? or the trustees need to say this building is not fit for purpose, even though the latest reports have proven that the council misled us. It wasn't riddled with asbestos. It just needed some fire doors. And we've got no theatre offer until until the new, not even a theatre, performance space is completed. Now, I know what's going on. I suspect, like many of you, that's what I suspect is going on. I think there's dodgy deals going on. What else can I think? Because sequentially it does not add up. This performance space was announced before the closing of this theatre. It was confirmed at the beginning this was not going to be a theatre replacement, and now they just start calling it a theatre. £20-something million it's going to cost for a performance space that's not fit for purpose for what we want it for. And those of you who want to save the existing provision, well, the very trustees of the company won't even back you. Have I got it wrong? Likewise, you've got, and this new performance space is being built behind the local interest centre, the old post office. Next door, the old library, our library, historical building, has been stolen from us. It's going to be used for council offices. And for them to have tea and biscuits, councillors to have tea and biscuits, the mayor's parlour. Where was the public consultation for that? Nowhere, but worse than that. And this is what hurts me. Sweated blood and tears to get people elected. These aren't even contentious issues. Now, I know I know I am the way that I am, and I fight, and I'm not everyone's cup of tea. But the old library, it's a public building. How dare they take it away from us? They get a grant in our name and take it away from us to make council spaces for council officers and closed off areas where councillors have tea and biscuits and hang out. It's our building. Why aren't our independent councillors saying something? Why aren't they standing up and objecting? And that's another reason why I'm tired. Even on the easy issues, those we elect, too many of those we elect, have stayed silent. It's no different than the Carnegie Library in Chadderton. They sold that to a mate of Jim McMahon at knockdown prices, and now it's some sort of Islamic centre. I ain't got a problem with an Islamic centre, but I've got a problem with a public asset that is accessible, meant to be accessible for the entire community, being sold at a knockdown rate to a group that limits its accessibility. These are easy issues to campaign on. I know you don't want to campaign on why is Arooj Shah hanging off the arm of a heroin dealer, convicted heroin dealer. I know you don't want to campaign on, you want to use it for your own benefit, but when it gets tough, you don't want to campaign on intricacies of Burnham's assurance review and how it's a cover-up of a cover-up. I get you don't want to, these are difficult areas for you, and you want to be friends, or some of these people want to be friends with council officers. If I was a councillor, and I mean this, and I'm not, but if I was a councillor, here is the places for everyone's statutory consultation, and it closes on Wednesday. Where is the response to protecting our green spaces? Where is the workshops? Where is the public meetings by our councillors to support and facilitate members of our public so they can engage in this consultation? Where? Nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Why not? Why not? Sure. We'll be devastated. Royton South will be devastated. Crompton will be devastated. Failsworth gone. Huge parts of Chadderton ruined as a consequence of this scheme. Now, this is the statutory consultation. Why are our councillors not going into the communities and run consultations, run events to raise awareness of what's taking place, and then assisting people to take part in the consultation? Why not? Burnham is going to destroy the places we call home. And the councillors we elected, including Maggie Hurley on this, who were elected on pledges to fight against Andy Burnham and the centralisation of power and the taking away of decision making from the town to Andy Burnham's office. They were elected on that. Their own publicity materials, the banny pledges say that. Why have they not done anything? They're now paid 10,000 or something. They've just accepted a pay rise. Apart from Lewis Quigg, of course, who's told them where to shove their pay rise. The stuff buried in the small print of this statutory consultation that is going to hasten the destruction of our town and our communities. And again, if I was a wagering sort of person, if I was a poker player, I'd be going all in, knowing that not only have they not facilitated consultation events with their own constituents, their own ward members, to make them aware of what's going on and how they can contribute and feedback, I bet they've not even read the consultation. I bet they've not even read the consultation. It finishes on the 6th, midnight on the 6th of December. Whilst I'm happy to put something up on Facebook and explain it, I don't see the point in it. And it goes back to what you guys are discussing now about shares and likes. Go and have a look at the Recusant 9 page. I've seen the analytics. There are thousands of what read it, but the shares are next to, they're non-existent. If we don't raise awareness ourselves, where are we going to go? Where are we going to go with this? So I look at all of this and I think, okay, with the limited resources and the energy I have, and the support from you, where do we focus our efforts? I can take the piss out of the independents for the next decade. It's not going to make any difference, apart from them getting angrier and angrier. We focus on this. We focus on removing as many Labour Party politicians as possible and protecting the likes of Lewis Quigg, who are up for re-election. That's where we've got to remain focused. The council do announce the consultations, it's fine, the council do. But my issue isn't the council. My issue is our representatives. Because most of us don't understand these documents. And it's the responsibility of those we elect to represent us. And representing us means taking our views and opinions to inform decision making. That's how representative democracy works. Now, if we don't understand something, it's their responsibility to come to us and communicate the complex and simplify and say, this is what's going on. This is what the place is for everyone. Plan is about. This is a statutory consultation. We need you to engage in it, because actually if you do engage in it, you can change it. You've got to believe that. If you do engage in it, you can change it. If you do represent ourselves, we can change it. We could, if I was a councillor, if in any way involved in any of this, the Lib Dems promote themselves as a party of protecting green spaces. Go and speak to Howard Sykes and ask him what makes the Lib Dems unique from the others, and they'll talk about green spaces as one of the key features, protecting the green belt. Well, then the Lib Dem motion on the Wednesday council meeting should have been withdrawing from Andy Burnham's scheme. The Lib Dem motion should have been withdrawing from the Places for Everyone scheme. And if I was a Lib Dem strategist, I would pull out from this consultation document a number of very, very concerning features on how it will impact upon the various towns in Oldham, what metropolitan borough, and force a vote. Doesn't matter if I lose the vote, but you can bring forward a 20s plenty scheme motion anytime you want. Well, that's what I would have done, but they haven't. Why? If they care so much about the green belt, if what makes them unique as a party at a local level is their commitment to protecting the green belt, which is what they'll claim, why have they not brought forward a motion on this? Likewise, why have the Conservatives not done this, particularly as the Saddleworth Conservatives do. One of the key themes up there in getting votes is protecting green spaces. So why haven't they? What actually is going on in this council of ours? And you've all seen the news about Nottingham Council. I think the Daily Mirror ran a story with Jim McMahon in it as though he'd somehow absolved of responsibility. But there's something like 20 other councils across the country on the verge of bankruptcy, having been misled to the extent by Abdul Jabbar regarding the extent of our town's debt. I'd imagine our council is on that list. Now Labour will jump up and down and blame the government. I'm not blaming the government. I only need to look at where they've spent the money, blown the money on one vanity scheme after another to know where it's all gone wrong. And I also only need to look inside the council, into the roles they prioritise. Instead of prioritising frontline staff in key roles, they're prioritising PR, polishing a turd department. Jenny Harvey and her team. Millions going on that. The social media presence, the newspapers they put out with a picture of Arood Shah on every page, sometimes 2 pictures of her, 3 pictures of her on the same page. And this is what I don't get, Ian. Really? 10 grand? Is it worth 10 grand to sell out the town? To sell out the community? To sell out your neighbours, your friends, your children, your grandchildren? Is 10 grand, we talked about the pieces of silver. Is it worth it? Is that how cheap this town is? Is that how cheap their morals and their values are? I think my expectations are just basic. And maybe that's what it is, really. The council has made us feel we shouldn't ask for anything. They've disempowered you. It's like Oliver Twist, taking a bowl and asking for some more porridge. You need to amplify. You need to share the content. I've got an emergency transmission I need to share with you. I didn't want to share that this evening, or the contents this evening, because it gets lost. It needs to go out to a wider demographic. It needs to go out to everyone. And what I've got is outrageous. I will put the emergency transmission out tomorrow, free to air, and join in. It is going to be entertaining. It is definitely comedy. It is definitely comedy. Please do promote me to your friends and your family, and if you can, get them to subscribe either to the YouTube channel for 99p, or better still to the Ghost website, which is where I draw my income. It's £3 a month there. Please try and get more subscribers, because I'm struggling for numbers at the moment. But hey, that is a discussion for another evening. Thank you very, very much to all of you who joined me. Hope you found value in this evening's transmission, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Take care. Good night.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.